All right, it is 6:01, so I'd like to call the May 18th meeting of the FAMPO Policy Committee to order, please. We'll stand if you would for the. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, sir.
Well,
Mr. Lang, can we get a roll call and determination of quorum?
way too much coffee.
Present? She is on her way. She let me know. Be here momentarily.
Jakubowski,
Here.
Dante Diggs,
Dante is here.
He's here. He's at the buffet.
Kenneth,
Televised meeting.
Lori Days,
Here.
Greg Kenyon,
Here.
Shannon Holt,
Here.
Mullins,
Present.
Robert Schneider,
Here.
Pam Young.
I believe she's
out
also
there.
at the buffet.
Also
Yes.
at the buffet.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lang. All right. Next item is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So second.
Chairperson, just to point out, attached to your agenda, the last page, there's a slightly amended resolution because we discovered an error in the resolution, so we've remedied the error. It's one of the smart scale resolutions voting for the projects. So just be aware that the one that you got in your pack is got the error in, and the printed one attached to your agenda has the corrections. So if you can just substitute that, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, we have a motion. Yeah.
What is the error?
Carrie?
Oh, it's spelled out half, like part of the
Oh, is it?
project.
Yeah. The
That's why.
project,
It shouldn't be spelled out.
the project name was just not following convention, so we just fixed it.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? All right, the agenda is approved. All right, item 5, the public hearing. So comments and questions from members of the public are welcome at this time. Let's move on to 5A first, resolution directing a public comment period for the fiscal year 2027 Unified Planning Work Program. Do you have any members of the public who wish to speak to this item?
Supposed to Watkins, so service.
Sorry,
Mr. Watkins.
I know.
Mr.
He told us he wouldn't be here, actually.
yeah, he's traveling.
Remember, he said so last time. Yeah.
Okay. And a service request, so what? Check it out. You should connect with him online. No.
So there's no members of the public to speak to this. Do we have any letters to this item, Mr. Lang? All right, then I will close that public hearing. Move on to 5B, a public hearing on the resolution directing a public comment period for the FY 2730 Transportation Improvement Program. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak to this item? Any letters, Mr. Lang? Okay, then that public hearing is closed. All right, we now move on to item 6, public involvement. Comments and questions from members of the public are welcome at this time. Do we have any members of the public who would like to comment? Nope, okay.
Got some.
Got some letters or some other feedback, Mr. Lang?
From Eugene Maxwell. Hi, FAMPO. I sit on the Fredericksburg Planning Commission, but I'm sending you this email as a completion. I tell you that a pedestrian curb cuts have been placed at the intersection of Avon and Princess Anne, Hampton, and it appears that VDOT has engineered out the eastbound pedestrian crossing on a center. First, let me point out that the public presentation on that intersection pedestrian facilities on all 4 legs of the intersection. Second, I'm sure VDOT will offer a reason to engineer that leg out, but I ride my bike from my village to the Fredericksburg Food Co-op by 8. Able to safely navigate that intersection. Don't have an eastbound crossing, we will need to cross the intersection co-op. It's infinitely more dangerous than navigating one pedestrian crossing, especially with volume of traffic that turns right onto Hanson from Route 1. To be honest, if we had a Route 1 crossing like we would probably use inclusive that there's car traffic on Hanson. We could just scoot up Woodford on the sidewalk But I just want to back up to the image that I've attached. 4 legs. Just give me what you told me. God, I'm not going to bring up that median is supposed to be wrapped instead of a giant concrete sled. Just want the pedestrian crossing they showed us. Why is this so hard? Please hold them accountable. Mark, Dugan, Sullivan, Caswell. Attach. Five, we got, Mr. Castle in contact with VDOT and we did.
Next,
That is the only public comment.
there we go.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Lang. All right, item 7 is the consent agenda. Does anybody wish to pull anything from the, Mr. Lang, can you let it be shown that Supervisor Venush is here? Thank you. Item 7, does anyone want to pull anything, sorry, from the consent agenda? Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion for.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, consent agenda passed.
There you go.
Item 8, the administrator report, Mr. Alice.
Thank you, Chairman. It's Bike Month in the area and, well, in the state of Virginia, and it's also the month of transit. We've got the Virginia VTA, the Virginia Transit Association, having their annual conference in Fredericksburg month. So you'll see a number of these slides are about transit or bike ped for once. So next slide. First of all, just to welcome, not present today, but Phil Perella has been nominated to be the PRTC alternate on the FAMPO policy committee. So we'd just like to recognize that and welcome him. He'll probably attend meetings in the future if Bob Schneider is unable to be here. He's the official alternate. Next slide. So the Virginia statewide rail plan, if you're interested, there is a virtual public meeting. They had a survey previously, the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, to talk about their next update to the statewide rail plan. And they're letting us know that June 1st, which is the same night as the GWRC board meeting, but they're having a virtual public meeting to discuss their newly drafted statewide rail plan or to get anybody's input. So if you're not at the GWRC meeting and you wish to give further input, they are having a virtual public meeting, and it's virtual so that all over the state can be involved at time. The links are on the slide in your pack. Click on the next slide. Train automation. This is not in our region, but it's just a little interesting aside. The Washington, D.C. Metro was originally designed to be fully automated. It has equipment on board the trains and in the stations and on the track to fully automate the system, but it's now very old. So they're going to be upgrading the system on the red line to switch on the automated system. They've been testing the automated system now for a while, so people have been riding on the Metro. There's still a train driver or engineer on the train, but actually the computer is running the system. So they need to upgrade this to be able to handle 36 trains per hour. And we don't even have one passenger train an hour on the CSX line. So you can imagine this is a lot of trains. It will increase their capacity to handle crowds, which is great. Just an interesting project. Next slide. May is Bike Month. Department of Rail and Public Transportation have declared May Bike Month. It's bike to work type situations. They have got this Bike Month challenge that they've launched for the first time and encouraging people to participate, to get active, get fit, use your bike. So there's further information, and they have an app that you can use to put in like where you're biking and so on. Just letting you know. Next slide. Toward the VRE, this is both good and bad. It's the VRE, it's like the Great Train Race. The VRE organizes a bike race. Unfortunately, they got some negative feedback from the last time it was held in our area. So they've, for a second year in a row, booked it in the Manassas area on the Manassas line. But just letting you know that the Tour de VRE is happening again this year, but this time in October, I believe. So also they have information online that you can read up on, and it's in aid of a good cause again. Next slide.
What was the negative feedback when it was?
They didn't tell me, but they said they just got about the route. The particular route that they were on, bikers didn't like it so much, and so they got some negative feedback. So I don't know. Perhaps they can consider an alternative route in the future.
Yeah,
But it just seemed a pity to me that they'd cancelled it.
I never, okay.
Next slide. Transit-oriented development. This is just a funding opportunity, a federal funding opportunity, just letting folks know if anybody's interested. They're taking applications for funding to design a neighborhood to be transit-oriented if you have projects that are around transit. Again, it's just a funding opportunity. There's nothing else you need to do about it, but I just let you know when there are things that are going on that are not necessarily talked about generally.
There was another one for rail. Did you see that one too? Because there was another one for rail, and I'm like, we don't have any rail. But
Well, one of the projects that is for
the money, I was on that call.
yeah, and they're also often annually there are funding opportunities to upgrade the crossings where you have a train. Yeah.
$1 billion.
Yeah.
And then, but I thought maybe pull it and give it to budget first so that they could.
There are a number of
Sent on that call, what, I didn't know anything about it,
It
but,
was got a VRE call. It's a call that I got an email
oh.
and it was a federal grant.
Yeah, please, yeah.
Did they mention anything about the Mine Road and Benchmark crossing?
No,
It was not project specific then?
no,
Okay.
I was just saying that we have money. They kept saying it.
So
They kept it over and over.
yeah, the county has applied, if I recall, was it last year, for funds to upgrade rail crossings. Again, it's happening this year, and just an FYI, this morning, the committee in Congress that deals with the federal reauthorization bill for transportation presented the draft bill, which will replace the Infrastructure Jobs Act, and it again has got funding in to replace or upgrade crossings in it. So it's a program that they're intending to continue into the future. And every year you can apply, and then hopefully one year you win the funds and you can either upgrade the crossing or I prefer doing away with them, honestly. I'd rather remove one completely than do little upgrades and keep on doing little upgrades, because if trains are going to go faster and they're going to be more of them, it's just better to slowly, systematically do away with them when you can. It's a safety issue. People drive around the booms, they cycle their bikes around the booms. It's just,
Yeah.
a gate would be better because it's hard to cycle around a gate, but yeah, yeah, the booms are, people do atrocious things around the booms. Anyway, let me not delay you. Next slide. This is also not in our region, but interesting. The new Purple Line in Maryland is a light rail line that you remember got into difficulty. They canceled the contractor and threw them out and got a new company in. Well, they laid the last piece of track last week and hammered in the last spike. So the track is complete. It's not yet all electrified. They still have to lay the overhead electrical catenary for much of it. But the track is in, the track is finished, and that's going to add a lot more riders to the DC Metro as well, because they connect to 4 of the DC Metro stations. There's the red line is there in the
It's
map.
just an orangish color up there.
The red line is still there. It's sort of a light red. Yes, it's there. That sort of orangey red color. My apologies for that's the red line.
Oh, okay.
And it connects to the purple line, the new purple line. next year it will start operating. So
Designed to go east-west to connect.
Always so long.
it's it's basically connecting the dots, which is good. Next slide. The travel demand model. The long range transportation plan gives us this once in a 5-year opportunity to update our planning as a region. To do the planning, we need to update the travel demand model to count for the new period. Travel demand model only projects out to the year 2050 today. But in order to finish the long range transportation plan update to 2055, we have to update the model. To do this, we've got to estimate the population and jobs that we will have in the region in 2055. It's not an exact science. We do projections, linear projections based on how the population growth has been in the past. And we try to estimate the future, and John will walk you through that later today. But that's why we're doing it, so that we can update the travel demand model. And we need to update the travel demand model so that we can show what the impact of the new projects are that you're going to choose later this year to be in the long range plan. So we try to estimate the impact of those projects by using the travel demand model. So that's why John's going to be showing you that today. Next slide. I think this is the last slide, just some information. The final deadline for Smart Scale is August the 3rd. Carrie's going to walk you through the choices of the projects later. We need to pick the projects, and then we work with people at the localities to get all the information for those projects into the portal so that our project submissions are ready. Chair.
So in the third bullet, is that 600 billion? Billion?
No, billion.
So it's targeting somewhere in the 600 billion, which is approximately half of 1.2 billion?
Well, sorry, 1.2 trillion is the error.
That-
You're right.
okay.
It's an error.
Like, I went with like a question mark. It's like, I'm not getting this.
You're right. It's not the billion that's the error. It's not the first billion that's the error. It's the second one. It should be 1.2 trillion, which was the infrastructure job.
Thank you.
That's been superseded by events of today. You know, we prepare these agendas like a week out.
Mhm.
So this morning they actually issued the final bill, and it's 1,005 pages, and I didn't get all the way to the end, so I don't have the exact number for you, but I did read the summary. The summary is 64 pages, so I got through the summary and some of the actual bill. It's a long thing to read, and it's complicated because the way they write legislation is we repeal line 36523 and we insert blah blah blah, but you know, to hold all these different bills together and work out the snake that ties it all together, it takes a while. So I can't yet give you a full update, but I believe FAMPO is doing a presentation on it, and the ENO Center for Transportation is doing a presentation on it, and some others. So we'll get the wisdom of the gurus out there, so I can give you a decent update in time. It's not voted through yet. They've just released the bill. They're going to do the markup of the bill on Thursday. And then obviously it goes through the committee voting system and Congress, both houses, to vote on it. But it's a big bill, and it does reauthorize all of our planning grants and CMAC and STGB and all that kind of thing. So just brief you on the changes. There are some changes. And then the long range transportation plan update, we've got some items that we've clustered together on the agenda. Chair, that's all that I have for you. Just giving you a snapshot of things going on roundabout that we don't always hear about.
All right, thank you, Mr. Alice. Let's move on to item 9A, 2055 LRT status and
We've grouped these together so that you get them all the LRTB items together. So it's the long range transportation plan. We update it every 5 years. We're now working on the 2055 update. Next slide. So there's just a big high level timeline. We started in 2025 doing the preparation. We're now producing the plan. The constrained long range plan is really one of the most important parts of the plan, because it identifies all the projects that we as FAMPO or the counties and the city, the region is prepared to fund in future, but we don't yet have the dollars, right? So it's most like monopoly money. we're committing that in future, when we get that money, we will be able to build this project. But we don't actually have the funds to commit now. It's projected funding. So we project the funding and then we project what projects we would like to spend the money on, and we put it in that constrained long-range plan. And then the projects that don't make it into that plan, we put them in our needs list. So we say, we still need these projects, we just don't yet know how we're going to find the money to fund them. And then early 2027, you'll review the whole plan and approve it in about May 2027. Good news is the first section is complete. It's not ready for you to review yet. We're doing the fact checking and the edits and so on. But Becky was the first one out of the gate, and we finished the system performance report, which tells us how the transportation system is performing, how old Bob's buses are, or the FXB Go buses are, what the state of the roads are, and so on. And Becky's finished the draft, so we'll be circulating it to the TAC, and we'll slowly work with VDOT and DRPT and the members of the TAC to check all of it. We only bring it to you when it's ready. So, but it's great to know the first section is done. Good news. Next slide. That's what the new outline looks like. We've tried to make it a little shorter and a little easier to read. The last version was some 900 and some pages, and we think that that's just too much. And some of it is unnecessary. So we've condensed it at this time a little. It'll have 7 chapters and 5 appendices, and most of those appendices are just like the acronyms and stuff that you need to know. But the first one, Appendix A, is the one that's finished, the system performance report. It contains the data on how the system's performing, how the safety is doing, and all that kind of thing, as the last one did. Next slide. That's what's completed so far. The needs and goals survey for the long range plan are completed, and Eugene is going to walk you through the final list of goals and objectives. The goals and objectives draft is in your pack today. The first draft of the system performance report is finished, although it's not in your pack. We do a series of fact checking before we bring you anything. The project prioritization methodology is in the pack, although we're not asking you to adopt it today. We're going to ask you to adopt it next month. This is just a first preview for you. We've submitted requests to locality partners for the transportation revenue projections. Basically, the money that each agency and funding source for the region thinks we will have available between now and 2055. And they use a somewhat objective way of projecting the future. Some things are harder to project, like we don't know beforehand how many small scale projects we're going to win and be awarded funding for. So there's an estimate process that VDOT goes through to determine the likelihood of us getting X amount of dollars. We've asked our transit partners to estimate the kind of money they might be spending in the region. Same with VDOT and so on. So that's gone out, and it's due the end of the month. So by the end of the month, Becky and I will be able to put together what we think is going to be available in terms of funding between now and 2055 for transportation. And then John will call for projects to ask the localities and the state partners what projects are they going to need to fund between now and 2055. And then we're going to use that scoring methodology that John for those projects and determine which ones we should put in the plan. Next slide. Coming is the draft budgets that I just told you about, the call for projects. Then we're going to update the travel demand model using the population and jobs and households numbers. The future trends, I'm working on that particular chapter, trying to answer some questions that you've asked in the past about these projections. The goals and objectives chapter will come soon, and we know about the funding request. we're trying to get you a project list by August, maybe in September, but we would be aiming for August to show you the list of projects that everybody wants. This is what the localities want, what the state partners think we need, what the transit agencies want, and we'll be able to put that together for you. Next slide. For approval in May, the goals and objectives, the population and jobs numbers, and we'd like you to approve us starting a call for projects. In June, we'll bring you the final vote on the prioritization methodology before we choose the projects. So that's where we are. I think that might be the last slide. Is there one more? Oh, just a goodbye. Thank you. Don't forget to walk your dog.
Yes. All right, so now we're moving on to the LRTP goals and objectives, which is Mr. Lang and invitation for us, right? And then a resolution for us to vote on, if we so wish.
So no presentation, just presenting the transportation goals and objectives. So back when we were doing the survey, we provided a list of the 2050 goals and objectives for social speakers to comment on, and based on these results, we have an objective. Now present them the final version to you for your approval. A lot of this work was consolidating the objectives to make sure that we had and also cutting out the ones that were duplicates of other objectives or just platitudes.
Also, the TAC has seen it and recommends it for approval. So this will be the goals and objectives of our new 2055 transportation plan, if you approve it.
All right. So we have a resolution before us to approve this list of goals and objectives. Do I have a motion?
So
We have a motion.
Second.
You made, okay.
That was somebody else. No.
Yeah.
You wanna do it? Okay.
So I have a question on one of them.
Sure. Yeah. Well, let's pause it.
The second.
Second.
Okay, there we go. In terms of the bike sharing one, bicycle and pedestrian network, I know we're talking region, but Spotsylvania is so broad and some areas of Stafford. I know Fredericksburg, that could do. So are we looking at some of the things that are specific to our areas that we could include in that having an efficient, convenient, and interconnected multimodal transportation system?
So the goals and objectives don't pick projects.
I understand.
It's the overall approach.
Yes.
We will have projects. If you remember my previous set of slides, we talked about the call for projects. We're going to ask Stafford, Spotsylvania, the city, and our state partners to give us their list of preferred projects,
Yes.
including.
So we're doing it, to me, we are looking at what is it that you could do for those areas so we could incorporate it and bubble up to the goal one, having an efficient, convenient. So if you don't know yet what it is, now you're going to ask us after the fact, then to me, it tells what it is, but it's not necessarily that it has to be specific. We need to see something in it. This is Stafford. This is Pennsylvania. I know that bicycle pedestrian network connectivity because Fredericksburg could see there's something there. So it would be nice if something was there that we could see connects the region. And I know we have, ride share and all that. Fredericksburg Go, but it's Fredericksburg Go.
I mean, my understanding is we're going to get there in the complete LRTP, right? This is just big picture, right?
We're stalling for you.
And then you're just like, it's not gonna work.
Not need to say this or.
Supervisor Mullins.
Maybe the goals aren't in any particular hierarchy, but I think goal 2 should kind of, and then you can fill in beneath it. So I would put goal 2 as strategic.
Manage and
strategic.
preserve the
Are they in
transportation.
a specific
There's no specific
You
order.
can have your.
Yeah, I have no objection to that.
Right.
Committee.
We will happily make,
CD.
In there.
Sorry.
happily make goal 2, goal 1.
When I was looking at the first one.
Yeah, I am, thank you.
Eugene, make it so.
Seven goals.
Yeah, all in your pack, but yeah, there are 7.
You vote? Yeah.
Yep, all right, so we have a motion and a second.
Debatable? Vote, or this is it?
This is it. We brought you the survey last year.
Yeah,
Why not? And when I was looking at that one, the first.
Weeks. We can use this.
Aye.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, passes.
Thank you.
Regionalism.
There we go.
Okay, next item is LRTP 2055 population, households and jobs projections, which similarly, we're gonna have a presentation and then a resolution to vote on to adopt it as part of the LRTP. So Dr. Rideout.
All right, next slide. Short summary is that our region is still growing. The growth is steady. We're actually a little bit ahead of what we were previously in the previous decade, but we're not as high as we were in the early to mid 2000s. Next slide. Generally speaking, the smaller jurisdictions has a lot more agreement on what its population projected is expected to be in 2055. All of our estimates are based on Walden Cooper, and the Walden Cooper US Census tend to agree that it is a kind of a slow to moderate growth projection looking further out, as well as a very consistent that we're going to look to add between 10 and 12,000 residents per year for those 3 smaller jurisdictions. So there's agreement on those.
Sorry, 10 to 12,000 residents. And between now and 2050.
Between now and 20.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Just making sure.
Not quite there. However, when we start looking at the larger jurisdictions, we're seeing a little bit more disagreement in the Walden Cooper estimates, as well as the historical growth rates and projections based on the US Census. Stafford County is actually tracking very closely with its Walden Cooper estimates. We are not in discussions with Stafford County staff. They believe that that is an accurate representation. The difference occurs with Walden Cooper's estimates into the future with Spotsylvania County. Walden Cooper's expecting kind of a divergence between Stafford and Spotsylvania, but Spotsylvania lagging a little bit further and further behind as the population goes out. However, more recent trends, as well as more historical tracks with the town, suggest that's probably going to be tracking much more closely with Stafford. And so for our recommendation and coming in discussion with the TAC, they believe that we should probably bump the Walden Cooper's estimates up a little bit much and expect a slightly faster growth ratio than what we're projecting for Stafford. So next slide. So what we're going to be asking for, excuse me?
Spotsylvania.
Spotsylvania. Yes. So we're looking to actually have Stafford and Spotsylvania track relatively similar into the future, although that means that we're adopting a slightly more aggressive growth estimate for Spotsylvania. So we're going to take the Walden Cooper 2050 numbers plus 10% and apply an additional linear projection. So a nice slope run with the R squared number. Stafford, we're actually going to just keep the Walden Cooper and a linear projection there. So we're not adding any additional to that. And then we're going for King George, Carolina, and Fredericksburg. We are just taking what's happening in 2050 and adding another 10% growth on that. And that tracks with their growth rate for that area. So what's important for this and approval is that the population is going to drive our jobs and household numbers. Next slide. And these are the 3 big number of talents that we need for our travel demand model. Everything else follows for this. So we have the population endorsed by the TAC. We take the jobs per person ratio that's already developed in the 2050 model because it's fairly robust, and then applies that same ratio for our expected employment growth into 2055. And then the same happens with our household numbers. So each one of the jurisdictions has a slightly different figure. That's just based on, say, the number of people living in households in King George is higher than that of the city of Fredericksburg, as well as you see the impacts of Quantico and Dahlgren in King George. You have slightly higher numbers in employment, but generally speaking, Walden Cooper has been much more aggressive that we're going to have slightly higher residential growth. And so we're seeing a slight decrease, about 1.5% in the jobs for person. We're keeping that flat for 2050, so not continuing that trend. We're just saying it's going to remain stable during that time. So these are the numbers that I need to have y'all weigh in and or approve, so that we can actually start develop other things that are based on the population, employment, and household numbers.
All right, Supervisor Mullins.
I just have a question.
Yes.
Can you explain why it's 0.945 for say Fredericksburg versus a bigger? Is that because of more children or something?
So this is jobs. This is basically, it's more of an economic jobs hub, a building like this, versus say a county that has a lot larger residential.
Gotcha. Right. Thanks.
So people in those other ones work outside of the jurisdiction. They work somewhere else.
Out of Fredericksburg does too.
Yeah, goes back one slide. Maybe two. Thank you. So to summarize, Dr. Rideout, we're for the three smaller jurisdictions, we're taking Weldon Cooper and adding 10% because that tracks with historical data.
Historical data, and it works out to be a 1.92% annual increase.
And for Stafford, you're just going straight Weldon Cooper because that has been tracks with historical data. And for Spotsylvania, you're taking the Weldon Cooper and bumping it a little bit because historical trends suggest it's going to grow faster than Weldon Cooper.
They have picked up, particularly post-COVID, to a much faster
If
growth.
we raise our taxes, they just skip Stafford and go to Spawn.
That's right. Great.
What seems to be happening is that some of the new residential developments seems to be moving a little bit further south. And we think that's because the land is cheaper. So Stafford land is getting expensive, and so people are moving to Caroline and Spotsylvania.
Veterans are moving down there too.
All right. We have any other questions for Dr. Rideout about these numbers? All right, so we have a resolution to adopt these projections as part of the draft LRTP.
So moved.
Gotcha. Okay, that was Dr. Counselor Holmes.
It was the new.
Oh, sorry.
Stafford.
Sorry. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Resolution passes. Thank you. All right, now we have the updated CLRP prioritization methodology, and this is just a presentation. We're taking action next month.
Actually, there is a action, but asking to open the call for projects first. Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
So you don't need to vote on.
Okay, don't need
policy.
Next slide. So we are working on the constrained long range plan. We are making this this has to be fiscally constrained, and it's a fiscally constrained roadmap of what our transportation projects are going to be. And we have to incorporate everything that's considered to be regional significant, which is traditionally anything that's receiving federal dollars, particularly transportation dollars, and or things that actually the board considers to be regionally significant. And the real big important part is that we know do our air quality conformity analysis every time we add or remove a project from this list. So we're able to swap things from the needs list that doesn't have funding on with a project that does. We can move between them without triggering that. And that's a huge step.
John, just before you go, I think you might have just misspoke there for a second. We used to have to do the conformity. We no longer have to do the conformity, which is what makes the job easier.
So we are trying to develop something that is both simple and flexible with the jurisdiction staff for evaluating these projects. And we're formulating these based on kind of analysis of previous smart scale funding rounds to figure out what are we competitive for those projects, because we don't want to incentivize something that we're not competitive for $8. We're basing this on that future integrated network analysis that we showed you last year, where we're saying, where are we spending the money on what roads, and is it actually moving the needle? Based on LRTP surveys, policy committee goals and objectives survey, we looked at those, as well as feedback from the citizens. And so we're incorporating all these into what we hope to have is an open call for projects in June. And realistically for your staff, we're just saying, hey, provide us with your master plan. What projects are you expecting to take in the next 5, 10, 20 years? So, and we hope to have this as a draft, as you mentioned, in September, as our full preferred timeline. Next slide. We have focused into three main areas. We have our timelines. Realistically, it's the midterm years that are important. These we already know what our projects are, and these we might not know the details yet about, but we need to kind of compare them at least on a very basic level. Anything that doesn't make it kind of goes on the needs list. But what we're prioritizing within our methods is capacity increases, local connectivity. Those are the big two. After that, it's value cost effectiveness, safety input, and then we're also allowing jurisdiction staff to give us local input. So they're probably might be coming back to talk to y'all and saying, what are the most important projects that we want to try to push? We're actually trying to incorporate that into our methodology so that if there is a very important project, even if it doesn't score particularly great, it still has an avenue to make it onto that list, particularly over other projects within a similar jurisdiction that might score better, but is a lower priority. So we're taking that time and we're trying to formulate these into transformative and capacity projects that add capacity and connectivity. We're looking at things with big regional impact, which is a lot of capacity building. And then local priorities, which is a lot more like your intersection safety improvements, and getting all those and dividing up the hypothetical monopoly money, as Ian called it, into a representative example of the path we're going to take forward. Next slide. So we'll need to adopt this big list of projects by the end of the year. So we're asking you to open the call for projects so we don't slip. That will happen at the end of the TAC once the TAC kind of endorses what they have their preferred methodology to be. And then we'll come back to y'all at the end of June to say, this is what the TAC endorsed, will you approve it so that we can then score the projects. So the good thing about this whole process, we hurry up behind all the lists and then we say, okay, this is great. And now what happens if we need to make any changes? We have the capacity now to actually go back in, particularly annually, and make changes. So if a project falls out of the jurisdiction's priority, we can actually pull it. So it frees up money for another project. So this isn't a finalized list, but it does help us kind of gauge which projects are kind of moving forward a little bit faster.
Chairman,
Okay, yeah. Super President.
question in terms of the methodology.
Yes.
It's not going to be approved until June 29, and you're asking for the projects. Who is determining how close we have to be to the approved methodology and everything? Because they keep changing it, right?
So yes, so this is ours. So when this was presenting to TAC, they had questions that say, okay, whose definition of capacity are you using for the methodology? And so we went back and have been reworking that. And the rework draft is actually in the agenda pack, but we have not taken that to TAC. And what we wanted to do, because we're very aware of jurisdictions' time, particularly in the smart skill season, we don't want to push a call for projects back when the major brunt of smart skill is also occurring. So we would like for them to be able to provide their documentations. In some cases, it's very simple. Termini, where does a project start? Where does it end? When you're adding, 2 new through lanes, relatively simple, and they can build from existing adopted documents, such as like a county's transportation master plan, as well as their own capital improvement plans. So we're trying to get that out in front of smart skill, because right now we have a little bit of a lull. But by July 15th, we're expecting, say, jurisdiction staff, time and other things to start pushing up again. So we would like to open a call for projects while we have a pretty good idea of what the methodology is, but we don't actually have it finalized because we don't want to wait until June 29th to actually start asking jurisdictions because they have one smart scale and they're going to be pressed.
Yeah. So we don't need a vote for this, right?
Just
Just want your permission to start calling for projects, but you don't need to vote on
Does anybody
any
object to
of the
that?
documents.
No objection.
Councilor Finn.
Is it typical that, young projects would be with guidance on which they might?
So the TAC already has all of this. And they asked for some small tweaks, largely explanation, not changes to the methodology. They're going to see it again before the TAC officially starts the call for projects. So we're going to show it to them again. If they're happy with it, subsequent to that meeting, we'll open the call for projects on the 1st of June. But they then have 6 weeks to submit projects, right? We're not closing the call of projects till you have adopted the methodology. So it's a little bit of side-by-sideness.
So jurisdictions will have the methodology, the approved methodology.
Before the project
before it
closes.
closes. But
And if you want to extend that, I mean, it's our collective project, right? So if you decide on another 2 weeks, we can always do that. It'll mess up our timeline a little bit, but no one has a gun to our head. There's no like some authority is going to give us a default if we don't finish it by a certain date. So we can extend the time if jurisdictions say we really need more time, we'll do that. But to John's point, there is a smart scale deadline coming, and I can tell you VDOT and the jurisdictional staff will want to murder me if I simultaneously ask them to send us all their projects for this effort. So we're just trying to do it now when there's a little bit of a lull before the real big submission comes with smart scale, or we can park it for another month and do it after that. But the timeline for the whole LRTP starts to slip.
I think it's fine. I would want the jurisdictions to have the final methodology.
That's absolutely fine.
As long as they have a chance.
Yeah, we will only open the call for projects after the jurisdictional staff have recommended the final version of the policy, and we'll only close it after you have voted officially to adopt the methodology.
All right, it seems like we are fine. All right,
Thank you. We'll take that as we can start the call for projects.
okay. So now we're moving on to item 9B, resolution directing a public comment period for the allocation of fiscal year 2027 through 2032, CMAC and STBG and CR funds.
All right. So this is our carbon reduction, congestion mitigation, and surface transportation block grant. These are the group of federal funds that FAMPO allocates every 2 years. Next slide. We have some good news, not great news. So back in March, we were told we're going to have additional funds to program above our normal allocations. After the TAC endorsed the formal spreadsheet, we got notification that says, well, hold on, we need to actually reduce some of those additional funds. So we're kind of in a unique spot where we actually have an allocated spreadsheet ready to go, but we've had a very late fallback back into our spreadsheet. So we don't have the exact figures ready again, because we need to go back to the TAC and balance it. However, we have the list of projects and approximate values ready to go. So for the clawback, what we do have is we have a net increase. Everything's getting a little bit extra money. Just what we have to claw back is going to be from the extra funds. And the big one is from FY27, that's particularly STBG, but congestion mitigation, air quality is kind of taking a hit further on out. And with our methodology, that provides some perks. So that's where we are, but again, still have an extra $1 million to allocate. Next slide. We have many projects that are new and entering into our spreadsheet. We have about 16 new projects with 2 existing projects receiving additional funds as well. And we're working our way to figuring out exactly how that's going to look like. We provided the initial endorsed amounts, and then with the revised amounts, we just did the reverse of our methodology, just went to and address projects that were receiving additional funds, as well as by the percentage formula adopted by this board. So we looked at those, and what you're seeing is that no one project is being impacted by more than about $180,000. And in some cases, sometimes the projects per year, they might be only impacted by less than $10, $15, depending on the formula. So we have those net changes represented. But what we would like to do is actually go ahead and release the spreadsheet for public comment, because it includes all the existing projects, the termini, and the rough amounts, even though they might not be 100% accurate. So That's where we are working right now. Next
John,
slide.
can I add to just focus everybody's minds? The TAC endorsed that column that says initial TAC endorsed. VDOT then informed us that Federal Highways had clawed back some money, 600 and some odd thousand. John has suggested that column that says suggested revised amounts, where we remove the 600,000 from, based on the formula, right? So you all agreed the formula when we did the methodology. So we just applied the formula in reverse and used the formula to reduce those projects by that amount. And there's some logic for that. The TAC will have a look at that first. So you're not being asked to endorse any dollar values today. What John is going to be asking you in a minute is just to approve the list of projects so that the public can comment on whether they think we should fund those projects. And they will have this approximate dollar amount, but it's going to come back with a final dollar amount once the TAC has agreed that second column or modified it. They might want 10,000 extra on this one and 10,000 less on the other one. So we're not asking you to endorse any dollar amounts because they're preliminary. We need the TAC first to weigh in and then bring it back to you. So what John is going to ask you is just to approve that we put this out for public comment so the public can comment on these projects. We will then bring it back with the final dollar amounts, and you will only adopt it once there's been public comment, once the TAC is weighed in, once you have had a final say on the dollar amounts. All the projects were suggested by your jurisdictions. So those are the jurisdictional projects. They're unlikely to change. I think in your jurisdictions, you all voted on your list of projects. So we're accepting that those are the projects.
Dr. Raddock, can you just clarify what's the difference between the ones that are shaded green and the ones that aren't?
So the two that are 40 and 54 are existing projects that the city has requested additional funds to be placed on those. So they are all projects that's getting the new allocations for the FY31, 32 years. Versus green are completely new projects. They don't exist in the current CMAQ list or STBG list, and so there are projects entering in and now are receiving funding, but they could be receiving funding in any years between FY27 and actually FY26 even and FY32.
Okay, thank you.
It's a very difficult, complex process, and we try not to show you the can of worms. We try to show you the end result because otherwise it'd be all night. Why is it 25 and not 26? It's a very. But feel free to watch the TAC and you feel free to comment. We have no objection, but it can be a very long process if we unpick the knitting one step at a time. It'll be a very long meeting.
The next slide. So again, we want to start public comment on the TAC endorsed spreadsheet because it includes all new projects and existing projects receiving new funds. We are still working with the TAC, as Ian mentioned. We're still going to bring this before them. Your jurisdiction staff are likely, hopefully, going to get a copy of the spreadsheet even this week ahead of the TAC. So if they want to make any tweaks that says we need this one fully funded for this year, we're now $7,000 short. They have that opportunity. But for the most part, these are more online with administrative modifications, even if there are slight changes to the funding amounts and funding years. So the final approval again is going to be at the end of June.
Approval, how long will comment period be?
30 minutes.
Starting tomorrow morning. Or tonight, if you like. We have to do 30 days as per our agreed methodology.
Are there questions? Okay. Well, this is a resolution that needs a vote. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Councilor Holmes. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Passes.
Thank you, Chair.
Item 9C, Safe Streets for All FY26 implementation grant.
Next one. The FY26 Notice of Funding Opportunity, Safe Streets and Roads for All was issued in late March, and staff received a debriefing from FHWA on our FY 25 application. From that debriefing, we're focusing on one of the FY 25 projects around Tidewater Trail multimodal safety improvements. Next slide. Crash rate is a standardized safety metric that measures the frequency of crashes relative to traffic volume to allow for comparison between different locations. The crash rate of this half-mile segment of Tidewater Trail between Glenda's Way and Benchmark Road is 571 compared to the GWRC crash rate of 370. Next slide. This safety need is compelling for our FY 26 project. The table on this slide shows the average number of people injured or killed by lane mile and by injury type. The GWRC region is on this row, and the Tidewater Trail project area is on the bottom. Of note are the average fatalities by lane mile of 4.26 for Tidewater Trail compared to 0.04 fatalities by lane mile for the GWRC region, and an average of 6.38 serious injuries for Tidewater Trail compared to the serious injuries above. Most sobering are the average pedestrians killed by lane mile in our project segment of 4.26 to 0.01 by lane mile for the region. Next slide. This slide lists the FHWA proven safety countermeasures proposed for deployment in the scope of the project. These countermeasures specifically target the collision type of observed and predicted crashes to eliminate fatal and serious injury crashes with construction of this implementation project. Next slide. FHWA's Highway Safety Manual provides the methodology to compute crash reduction benefits for each countermeasure. Using observed crashes, VDOT's crashed cost by collision type, and their safety performance factors to compute predicted crashes, the percent of crash reduction over the service life of the countermeasure leads to the monetary benefit of each. The SS4A implementation project for Tidewater Trail is predicted to result in over $29 million of crash reduction benefits over the service life of the countermeasure. If you click on the crash reduction benefits on this slide, you'll see the study citation source for the range of crash reduction benefits shown. And how about clicking on the new sidewalk? See if that pops up. And there you go. Next slide. Should the grant be awarded, VDOT will manage all phases of the project. GWRC, as the SS4A grant recipient, will execute a memorandum of understanding with VDOT to manage the reporting and reimbursement request process with FHWA. The total project cost is over $22 million. That cost includes an interim span wire traffic signal installed last year at Glenda's Way, Briarwood Lane intersection. Spotsylvania County and VDOT fast-tracked that project due to the recognized urgency to prioritize safety at this location. The county is leveraging smart scale and additional local funds to reduce the SS4A federal funding requested amount to $7.4 million. Next slide. The Spotsylvania County Community Development process has obtained donated right-of-way from site plans along the corridor and ensured that building setbacks and parking are not impacted by the project's design footprint. Broad community support has been demonstrated, and the project is embraced as a safety and economic improvement for the neighborhood. That concludes my presentation. The action before you tonight is to endorse the FAMPO letter of support for the grant application.
Okay, do we have questions or discussion? Are there any other intersections, Ms. Golden, in the region that have numbers that are anything? Those numbers are.
No, sir.
Yeah,
No, sir.
there's nothing else that's like that.
That's why I'm a little emotional about it.
Yeah.
It's the worst intersection.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
need to-
I mean, I got that.
It's
but,
by far.
like, everything even in.
Yeah, so, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Right, all in favor?
I heartily.
Let it be shown that 2 thumbs up.
I do.
And even with
Jeez.
just getting that interim light in there, it's just so much better now. Yeah, so much better.
There's an interesting bit of work in the new federal transportation reauthorization bill. It's a specific line item in that 1,005 pages that says they must, the Federal Secretary of Transportation must officially recognize or authorize or clarify the permissibility of flashing lights at an intersection for pedestrian crossings. I was just amused that they're now writing it into the federal transportation font that you must actually authorize flashing lights at these intersections, which was what would happen there.
Who must authorize it?
I think the federal secretary must incorporate it into the design standards and blah, blah, blah. There's a whole.
Not like per project.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I was like, come on, man.
No, they don't authorize individual projects. But the policy and the regulations that bring that into the minimum standards for state DOTs to implement and that kind of thing.
So this is an improvement in.
Yes, it's
safety
an
standards.
innovative way of stopping traffic at dangerous intersections to use these flashing lights. And it seems as though it's never been formally adopted into policy at a federal level. And now they've put this in the reauthorization bill. Sorry, it's just an aside. That wasn't.
We had flashing lights there and it wasn't effective.
Okay.
Before, we had the flashers.
And it wasn't working?
No,
Okay.
it didn't work. Nobody understood what the flashers meant. They just kept going.
They're new. Yeah, it's a new one.
Deacon Road by you guys, right? I mean, for some reason, I feel like people know to stop there, but they just, or not. You guys are frogging over there too.
But we pay attention, like, the vehicles that are coming and going, wait, press the button, or most pedestrians now, like, wait, they would just press the button and assume that.
Sounds like one of those British jokes. We didn't know whether to go or stop, so we hit the guy.
So we, anecdotally, this city work quite well, but I think that's,
It's also though,
traffic is moving a lot slower.
I was gonna say like Village Ave is 25, right?
Yeah.
And people are what, 35, 45,
Oh, yeah.
that stretch.
Yeah.
Benchmark, no, it's, right at the Weiss there.
That's what I was just looking at.
Glendon's Way.
Glendon's Way, it's going into the neighborhood.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I've sidetracked the whole meeting.
We're a big fan
I
of
went,
flashing lights in the city, so I'm happy to talk about them.
but
Great.
yeah, people gotta go across to CVO.
Yeah, I think when they're looking for pedestrians and moving,
Yeah.
moving slower, they're effective, yeah.
Yeah, no.
All right. Excellent. Let's move on to item 9D, the Smart Scale Round 7 presentation.
And this is the one that has the improved resolution, 2664 that's attached to you.
All right, we've actually got 3 resolutions as part of this, but Ms. Eves.
Great, yes, all right, please. Okay, so as you know, the committee was finished with last month, and they made some changes to smart scale for this round. But this one fits our original list, and that makes innovative, high priority projects. Build for our original list. So this changes the slated projects. Actions this endorsing swamp. Maybe is going to be agreeing to that. So county planners have requested the following changes. We're going to be removing the project from the TWRC regional list. That's Garrison Road targeted improvements. There's scope change necessary on that project. It no longer really considered regional significant, so it's moving to the start local list. Second change is they're swapping projects because of the policy change. On the sponsoring a local list, FAMPO list. They're removing Route 17 widening, which is a big giant project, and they're adding from South Roxbury Road, Route 606. So the Route 17 widening is clocking in a big price tag, and they're going to have a smaller version of that project on their local list. And the route on South Roxbury Road is more like something like 8. Getting in. I put it on this slide for you. Yeah. So, So the Route 17 widening was $57 million smart scale ask, nearly twice the average funded request the last round. So yes, it's smaller scope, really low. And then the replacement project that we are getting is now eligible for HPP, $6.8 million project. Still on a priority 2 corridor of statewide significance, but slightly slower. So, this is our update for our list. We've got our 4 allotted projects on each list for our application period. Change what I said. What I need you to do tonight is approve those for TWRC and FAMPO. And then I also need you to support all of those local applications for Spotsylvania and Stafford and you're just doing as we do every cycle, blanket approval, endorsement, support.
Okay, questions or discussion? Well, it's 3 resolutions, so let's take the one first. Resolution 2663, authorizing support for the GWRC list. That's the list on the left. Professor Young, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, passes. The next resolution is 2664. This is the one that the typo got fixed in the packet. And this is to approve the FAMPO list, the list on the right there. Do you have a motion for that resolution? Supervisor Young? Second?
Second. I have just a question.
Sure.
So moving it to the local list, it seems like our 17, not the 17, how it's gonna look the same as Garrisonville Road. And my concern is we talk about some of these roads being statewide significance, but yet Garrisonville is used as a statewide significant road. Usually they end up first, there was so many work on it, but yet it's not considered statewide significant. And I'm looking at you for that. Is anyone changing that? You know,
I don't believe.
Garrisonville Road,
Have to go through the CP.
but Garrisonville Road was on the list, so it did qualify for regionally significant projects on our list. It was removed though because of it.
So actually,
Yeah. Okay, so it was
No, I get that. Yeah, I get that. It's just that for some reason, they treated us main road, Garrisonville Road, and
Sorry, who's the they here?
Hmm?
Who's the they? Just
CDOT, for example.
OIP.
okay.
Yeah.
there are many significant roads that are not. There's only what, 12? What is this? Well, 11 or 12.
And that's why I'm wondering, like, who is the CTB? You're telling me the CTB, we need to go to that and then say,
Or, yeah.
we need to make it state road.
It's difficult. Frankly, we're not great. We did a whole bunch of data. We got all of these GOs, long run in the state, write a letter, try and get it done.
We wrote a report, we sent it to the CTB.
3 is this?
No, in our region, correct me if I'm wrong, it's only 1 and 17. Right, are the only,
And I-95.
and 95, right, I guess, right, but the only corridors of statewide significance that aren't the interstate, 1 and 17.
Correct. So we did apply for Route 3 and we were told, first of all, they'd have to do some research, and they did. No communication with, well, they never replied to our application ever till today, but they told the VTB meeting that they would need to do some research. After about a year, they came back and said to the CTB, not to us, that they can't do this for one corridor in the state. They have to reconsider all corridors in the state if they're going to make any change. Corridors of statewide significance.
Thank you for that.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second on this resolution 2664. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. And the final one is resolution 2665, which is the resolution authorizing support for the locality round 7 smart scale project application. So,
Second.
so we had a motion? No, Councilor Finn had a question. So do we have a motion?
I think a motion.
Oh, okay, super, yep, okay, and a second is Professor Young. All right, question, Councilor Finn.
Thank you. The Route 3 plan for finding improvements. Where is that? Not here, I'm sorry. Route 3 Pine Grove widening improvements, the priority. Where is that?
Where is that? Where is that? That is, out Route 3 West.
Yeah.
In the area. Oh,
Is it, no, go ahead, no, go.
yeah, it's around like Big Ben and Dora Drive, that area.
And the new
It's near-
public.
It's out west, exactly.
Yeah.
It's extending the 3-lane section
That's
further
right.
out.
That's right.
You got it. Direction.
Yes, that's right. And a lot of can't be done. Right, I've been there in those meetings. Yeah, it's extending the widening at Harrison Crossing. It's adjacent to that, it's going.
That's one of those quirks of smart scale. If you make it too big, they won't fund it because it's too expensive. If you make it too small, they won't fund it because it doesn't meet the standard of regionally significant. So that's one of those projects that's, you get hit by the traffic going in both directions. What do you do, right? It's difficult. It is, correct.
So it's a Goldilocks,
I was gonna
not a
say,
Goldilocks project, yes.
it's just,
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Abstentions? All right. Excellent, that passes. All right, item 9E, the FAMPO on-call consultants RFP and contract process. Mr. Olive.
So we don't need a presentation for this item because it's a very simple issue. We have 3 on-call consultants right now. We've extended those on-call contracts to the maximum we're allowed to extend them. So I can't extend them any longer. So the last extension will expire in September. So we need to start this process of working towards replacing the on-call contracts. We've got a draft RFP, however, VDOT is still reviewing the language. So I'm not asking you to adopt the word for word language of the RFP. I'm just giving it to you to show what we normally include in it. When VDOT is signed off on the language, then we'd like to put it out. What I'm asking you for tonight is, in this resolution, permission to start the process. You're not appointing anybody, you're not appointing anything. You're just saying, yes, staff, please start the process so that by the time we get to September, we've got new on-calls in place. If you squiz through the RFP, you'll see there's a timeline there with starting a call for interested parties to express themselves, to them giving us a proposal, to us forming a committee to evaluate proposals. It's a whole long process and it takes many months. It's not a quick process. You have to comply with federal and state law. So all that we're asking today in the resolution is give us permission to start the process. And when VDOT has signed off the language, we will then put out the RFP to start the process. Don't need slides to explain that. I think that's pretty much all it is.
Chairman Diggs, I'm sorry, Supervisor Diggs has in the motion.
second.
Second. Any comments, questions? All right,
Start the process.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Presentation.
Huh?
That was super.
That was,
It was intended to be quick.
yeah, we're killing it on that.
This
All right,
is
item 10, yeah.
just for your information, the letter of support from the Highway Commissioner for the SS4A grant that you've already heard about. I have one item, Mr. Chair, under staff and agency reports, if we're moving there.
Sure, yep, let's move on to that.
Just for a reminder for all jurisdictions that next meeting, June, is the last meeting of the financial year, and our office bearers rotate on the 1st of July. So at your next meeting on the 29th of June, we need you to nominate the chair, the 2 vice chairs for the next financial year, which starts on the 1st of July. And the rotation is formally agreed to. It's not sort of a, hey, let's nominate whoever we feel like. It rotates between jurisdictions. So it's currently the city that chairs the policy committee and the TAC. And I think even, do they,
CTAC as well.
the CTAC as well, they're all going to rotate on the 1st of July, and it moves from the city to Stafford to pick the chairs of the policy committee and the TAC and so on. So I'm just reminding you so that when you come to the meeting in June, you've already consulted among yourselves and decided who you want to nominate to be the chair. The first vice chair will then be Spotsylvania. The second vice chair will then be the city, and the chairman will be from Stafford. So whoever you want to nominate is up to you, but the jurisdiction that has the seats go with the jurisdiction, not with the individual.
We already have.
And and thus ends the oppressive reign of chairman.
Does it rain?
Oppressive, 6 separate.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
Evolution is in.
It's actually right.
We don't.
Chairman Mao is over.
Eugene had a quick comment, sorry,
Uh,
under staff reports.
FAMPO is going to be hosting an event called Coffee with a Planner at
That sounds
Fredericksburg.
like.
It's really fun. June 23rd at FXP Go Central. Promotional materials incoming. Keep an eye out on social media.
Oh, else you'll come and get us.
And we'll rotate to the other jurisdictions. It's for the public who want to come and ask, why is it like this? And we'll serve coffee and answer questions.
Mr. Lang, how have you done this before?
No, this is our inaugural Coffee with a Planner.
There'll be a couple of us, and we'll invite jurisdictional planners to come as well, so that the public can just ask those questions they don't feel comfortable with asking in a big public meeting.
Evening and having wine.
I like that.
Conversations might get.
We can have it in the evening. I'm not allowed to spend federal dollars on wine, unfortunately, so I can offer you coffee or a Coke, but I can't offer you wine.
What about a donut?
Yeah, will there be donuts?
We can, within limits, we can.
What day of the
supply
week
donuts
is
and-
that?
Eat.
It's a Tuesday? Yeah,
I'm out.
I'm a little skeptical about the turnout we're gonna get on Tuesday morning at FXB Go, but I'll be curious to see. Yeah.
People have to wait at the FXB Go Center for their next bus to arrive. And sometimes those waits are not just 5 minutes, they can
Indeed.
they can be long waits. So you've got a captive audience of people who come there anyway.
Okay.
And I think the idea is to just give them a chance to ask questions about, why do we have this kind of bus? Why do we have that kind of bike path? Why don't we spend more money on whatever? What are the environmental things we're dealing with? Whatever they want to ask. And
Okay, I was hot, so I'm glad I see the fan.
Yeah.
I thought I was losing my.
It is warm in here. Yeah.
It's hot in here.
All right, so I guess Supervisor Diggs has moved us on to board comments about the heat. Yes. Do we have any other board comments? No. All right, so our next meeting, which is not on the usual week, right, Mr. Allen?
yes, your next meeting, you move to the 29th of June.
For the public comment purposes.
Yes, because we wanted to make sure all these public comment periods have had their full 30 days. I assume you know this, but we don't choose the length of the public comment based on, just subjective things. It's laid down in FAMPO policy that you will have 30 days comment on the following things. And the only one that's not 30 days is that one for the tip, because we found nobody actually for the tip anyway. So we made it 21 days because not all months have got 30 days in them.
Okay. With that, then we are adjourned. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.